It's one of the most frequently name-dropped stories in comics history, The Dark Knight Returns. In fact, director Zack Snyder has said that his upcoming Batman vs. Superman will be inspired in part by the classic tale. But why does creator Frank Miller's book remain so important to the world of comics, some 3 decades after it was first released? In this 2-part installment of Comics History 101, we'll delve into Miller's seminal work, as well as its influential follow-up, Batman Year One. As always, we've got spoilers from the comics here. Here's everything you need to know about The Dark Knight Returns. In order to understand the impact The Dark Knight Returns had on the medium, we first have to consider the state of comics in general and Batman specifically in the years prior to its publication. After the Adam West TV show in the late 60s took Batman into the realm of camp, the creators at DC Comics struggled to restore the character to the darker, more mysterious version first envisioned by creators Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Together, several key players redesigned the Caped Crusader's look, as well as the type of stories he appeared in. The camp was gone, and the Dark Knight of yesteryear was beginning to return. But sales for not just Batman, but also the comics industry overall were declining. By the mid-1980s, Batman's self-titled book was selling under 100,000 issues a year, down from about 500,000 in 1968.
Holy superlatives, Batman!
Comics needed to change, and the people at DC had a few ideas about how to do that. The publisher was launching its Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover story, which was intended to reboot the universe and its characters, while also clearing up decades of confusing continuity. Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons were poised to deconstruct the superhero genre for DC with Watchmen, and writer-artist Frank Miller was hired to reinvigorate the Caped Crusader with the 4-issue series that would become The Dark Knight Returns. Miller was at the top of his game at this point, having revived both sales and interest in Marvel's Daredevil, a character that he brought a darker and more mature edge to. His creator-owned limited series Ronin further distinguished him as one of the key talents in the industry. But with Dark Knight Returns, Miller created a groundbreaking work and perhaps his crowning achievement. The story depicts an aged and empty Bruce Wayne who has long since retired from crime fighting after the death of the Jason Todd Robin. But as Gotham City and the world around him slips further and further into crime, corruption, and chaos, old Bruce can abide it no more.
The time has come.
He is reborn as Batman, and he inherits a new Robin too, a girl named Carrie Kelly.
Yeah, get him!
As the stakes in Gotham are higher than ever before, so too are Batman's methods more brutal. But still, this Dark Knight refuses to kill. This becomes clear when his old foes Two-Face and then the Joker resurface. When Joker commits mass murder on the David Letterman show of all places, or the next best thing anyway, Bruce breaks his arch-foe's neck, but he stops just short of killing him. So the Joker finishes the job for his old friend, essentially framing Batman for his own murder. It all culminates in a showdown with one of the only other remaining heroes in this world, the Man of Steel, now a puppet of the government, and more specifically of a decrepit President Reagan.
We've got God on our side. Or the next best thing, anyway.
Superman is everything Batman is opposed to, unquestioning, willfully blind, and ultimately ineffective. The former friends battle it out in the streets of Gotham amid a nuclear winter, with Bruce of course defeating the Superman against all odds. He then fakes his own death, and that is his ultimate victory.
You've got some nerve showing up here.
As he allows the world to think Batman and Bruce Wayne are gone, he can continue his fight underground with a new group of students, his new army. Miller explained part of his motivation behind the book. I felt that superhero comics had really been held back by a misperception that they were just for kids. The comic book world had become so utterly pleasant and safe that the idea of somebody dressing up in tights and fighting crime just seemed beside the point. And indeed, Miller succeeded in reaching a new audience beyond just kids. Not only was The Dark Knight Returns a huge success for DC, but it also proved to cross over and get mainstream recognition, a rarity for comics at the time. This rendition of Batman was something to be taken seriously, a comic book for adults that was ripe for study and analysis, a work of art that transcended traditional superhero theatrics to comment on our own very real world. The Dark Knight had indeed returned. But Miller wasn't done yet. Join me for the next episode of Comics History 101, where we'll explore Miller's follow-up book, Batman Year One, as well as the influence both that and The Dark Knight Returns had on the Caped Crusader in the years that followed, on both the page and the screen. Check back here, same bat time, same bat channel.